I'm 44 years old. And I work as a financial auditor. I was staring at an Excel spreadsheet. The line items blurring together. This was for my parents' 40th wedding anniversary party. The one I, of course, was planning all by myself. My phone buzzed on the desk. I glanced at it. It was from Jessica, my brother Ryan's wife. The text wasn't a question. It was a declaration. It read, "It's decided. My cousin and her family, that's 5 people, will be staying in your in-law suite starting next Monday. Make sure you stock up on milk and snacks for the 3 kids. Thanks." Have you ever received a text that made you instantly realize you aren't seen as family, but as a resource? Let me know your story in the comments. I didn't text her back. I didn't panic. I didn't get angry. I just took a deep breath, felt that familiar cold pit of dread in my stomach. And I called her. She picked up, her voice sickeningly cheerful. "Hey Mian, you see my text?" I kept my voice flat. Clinical. The same voice I use when I'm presenting a devastating audit finding to a CEO. "I saw it, Jessica. And the answer is no." There was silence. Just static on the line. I could almost hear her processing it. "What? What do you mean?" "No," she stammered. "I mean no," I said. "They are not staying here. The in-law suite is not available. Do not ask me again." And I hung up before she could form another word. That no wasn't just about this one weekend. That no was 5 years in the making. 5 years since my brother, Ryan, brought this woman into our lives. You have to understand. Jessica is a black hole. She survives on what she can pull from other people. I have to explain the history. About 3 years ago, Jessica went to my father, David, in tears. She had this sob story about a failed online business, how she was going to be ruined. My dad, who was a good man, a trusting man from a different generation, gave her $20,000 from his retirement savings to cover her debts. $20,000. That money was never seen again. There was no failed business. It just vanished. And when I tried to look into the paperwork, because I am an auditor, she accused me of being hostile and unsupportive. My brother Ryan just told me to let it go, for the sake of peace. And now, here I am, the only one planning their 40th anniversary party. Not Ryan. Not Jessica. Me. I'm the one coordinating the caterers, the rentals, the invitations, all while holding down a 60-hour work week. And that's when you realize it. It's what I call the competence trap. When you are the competent one in a dysfunctional family, you are no longer treated as a person. You are treated as a utility. You're not Mian, the daughter or the sister. You are the planner, the banker, the problem solver. Jessica's text wasn't a request. It was a calculation. It was her moving a problem. Her 5 broke relatives from her spreadsheet to mine. She didn't see me as a human being who was already stressed and overworked. She saw me as a resource to be exploited. And for the first time in 5 years, the resource just said no. That no was a bomb. And I had just lit the fuse. Within 5 minutes, my phone was ringing. My dad, David. His voice was already tired. He's the family peacemaker. The one who always absorbs the conflict. Mian, he started, his voice heavy. "Listen, I know Jessica can be, well, she's difficult. But this is for the anniversary. For family peace. Can't you just bend a little? It's just for the week?" I kept my voice calm. Factual. Dad. Is family peace worth $20,000? Silence on the other end. It was the heavy, sad silence of a man who knows the answer. It's not that simple, Mian. "It is to me," I said, my voice hardening. "He let her steal your retirement money. I'm not letting her steal my sanity and my home. The answer is no." I hung up. I hated doing it. But the boundary had to be made of steel. The next call came almost immediately. My brother, Ryan. I braced myself for the yelling, the accusations. But what I got was so much worse. It was pleading. Mien. Come on, he whined, his voice high-pitched. You're making this so hard. You know Jessica is just trying to fit in. She's really trying. It's just 1 week. Why are you blowing this up? Ryan. Where is Dad's $20,000? I asked. My voice like ice. He scoffed. A nervous, angry sound. That's not what this is about. That was a business loss. You know that. Why are you being so selfish? Selfish. That word just hung in the air. And as I listened to my older brother, the man I used to look up to make excuses for the woman who scammed his own father, I finally understood. I realized Ryan isn't stupid. He's a hostage. There's a psychological concept called the emotional sunk cost fallacy. It's the idea that you've invested so much time, emotion, and identity into something or someone that you can't possibly abandon it, even when you know it's a failure. My brother has invested 5 years of his life into Jessica. He has 2 children with her. He's built his entire adult identity around being her husband and partner. To admit, even for a second, that Jessica is a con artist, that she's a liar, that she stole from his own father, would mean admitting that he made a catastrophic mistake. It would mean his entire life for the past 5 years has been a complete and utter failure. So, he can't see the truth. He chooses not to. He's not protecting her, he's protecting himself from the shame of his own choices. He's a prisoner of hope-based choice, clinging to the fantasy that she'll eventually change. Because the reality is just too devastating to accept. He's not just her enabler. He's her first and most significant victim. And in that moment, listening to him beg, all my anger at him just evaporated. It was replaced by a cold, profound pity. I wasn't talking to my brother anymore. I was talking to collateral damage. Ryan, I said quietly. All the emotion gone from my voice. The answer is no. It is not changing. Do not call me about this again. I hung up on him. 2. The emotional storm was over. Now, it was time for the audit. I was tired of the emotional arguments. The pleading. The guilt-tripping. The appeals to family peace. It was all just noise. It was static, designed to obscure the facts. And as an auditor, I live by facts. So I stopped responding to the texts. I let the angry calls from Ryan and the sad calls from my dad go to voicemail. Instead, I sent one short text message to our family group chat. The one with me, Ryan, Jessica, and my dad. It read, I am requesting a conference call at 7 p.m. Tonight, we will be resolving this matter once and for all. I didn't ask if they were free. I told them when it would be. At 7 o'clock, on the dot, I dialed them all into a conference call. I could hear the nervous breathing on the line. Jessica, probably preparing her tears. Ryan, preparing his excuses. My dad, just hoping the fighting would stop. I spoke first. My voice was calm, clear, and cold. Thank you for joining, I said. I'm not going to be arguing with anyone tonight. I am simply going to present my audit points regarding this request. After which, this matter will be considered closed. Silence. This was my territory. My language. Audit point 1. I began. I am the homeowner. The in-law suite is my private property. It is not a hotel. It is not an Airbnb. And it is not a communal family resource. I am not a hotel manager. OD point 2. I am currently, and solely, responsible for planning and executing a 50-person anniversary party for our parents. My time is already allocated to managing vendors, caterers, and a budget. I am the party planner. I am not the babysitter. I could hear Jessica huff, starting to interrupt. That's not fair. I was going to help. I cut her off, my voice sharp. I am not finished. Which brings me to audit point 3. The entire premise of this request is fraudulent. What? Ryan's voice was suddenly defensive. The claim, I said, is that Jessica's cousin's family is struggling and can't afford a place to stay. This is factually incorrect. You don't know that, Jessica yelled. You don't know their situation. They are having a really hard time. Really? I said, because I found it interesting that someone having such a hard time would have a public, unlocked social media profile. I'm currently looking at a photo album they posted just last week. The title of the album is Disney 2024. It's a lovely picture of the entire family of 5, wearing matching Mickey Mouse ears, standing in front of the Cinderella Castle, a trip which, by my conservative estimate, cost at least $5,000. Dead. Silence. The kind of silence that rings in your ears. The emotional argument had just been executed by a single, verifiable fact. They hadn't counted on me doing my research. They never do. So, to summarize my findings, I continued, the clinical coldness back in my voice. You are not asking me to host a struggling family out of kindness. You are demanding that I provide a free hotel and free childcare for 5 people. People who just spent more on a vacation than I've spent on this entire anniversary party, so they can come here and enjoy another free ride at my expense. I let that sink in. The audit is complete. The request is, once again, denied. This case is closed. It was Jessica's voice that finally broke the silence. But it wasn't a yell. It was a shriek. You've always hated me, she screamed. The victim mode engaged at full power. You always thought I was a gold digger. You've been trying to turn Ryan against me since day one. I just wanted us to be a family. I was just trying to help my cousin. My dad started to cut in, his voice pleading. Mian. Honey. Maybe that was a little too harsh. She's just... I didn't let him finish. I cut through her manufactured hysteria with a voice so cold it could cut glass. Really? Jessica, are you sure you want me to continue? Because I'm not finished? The screaming stopped. Instantly. What? What are you talking about? She whispered. I'm talking about audit point 4. I said, my voice dropping to a low, clinical monotone. The final finding. The one I was saving. I let the silence hang for a beat. I could hear Ryan's breathing. Shallow and fast. 6 months ago, I said. The last time you slept over, in the in-law suite. You told Ryan you were too tired to drive home after our parents' barbecue. Do you remember that night? Jessica. I don't know. She stammered. Her voice was small now. Scared. I do. I said. Because after you scammed my father out of $20,000, I decided I didn't trust you. Not in my house. Not near my things. So, I installed a security camera in the suite. A very small one. Tucked away in the bookshelf. Just for my own peace of mind. Dead silence. This was a new kind of silence. It was heavy. My dad let out a small, "Kiet." Oh. It's funny. Jessica. I continued. For someone who was too tired to drive. You were quite active around 2 a.m. I have a very clear 10-minute video. High definition. It shows you, in the dark, kneeling in front of the small mini safe I keep in the closet. The one where I keep my personal documents and some backup client files. The video, I said, my voice perfectly even, shows you trying to guess the passcode. Over. And over. And over. Let's see. You tried your birthday. Ryan's birthday. My birthday. My parents' anniversary. The classic 1, 2, 3, 4. You were very thorough. You were also visibly frustrated, wiping your hands on your pajamas. When none of them worked. I didn't hear a sound. It was the silence of total annihilation. The kind of silence that's so complete. It's louder than a scream. My dad was the first to speak. His voice was a whisper. Mian. Is this true? I have the file timestamped and backed up on an external hard drive. Dad. I'd be happy to play it for you. Jessica just made a sound. A choked, gasping, animal sound. She wasn't a manipulator anymore. She wasn't the victim. She was just caught. This wasn't about a free hotel anymore. This wasn't about a Disney vacation. I had just escalated this from a family disagreement to a criminal matter. And all four of us on that line knew it. This was my secondary twist. This was my checkmate. It was Ryan who finally spoke. His voice was just a stammer. Mian. You're kidding. Right. You're joking. Do you want me to send the video file to the group chat? Ryan, I asked. My voice flat. Or perhaps just the timestamp stills. I'm happy to provide all supporting documentation. You, bitch. It was Jessica. That was the last thing I heard. A rough, guttural scream of pure, cornered hatred. And then the click, as she hung up the phone. I was left on the line with my brother and my father. The silence that followed was even heavier. I took a breath. For obvious reasons. I stated calmly. The anniversary party at my house is cancelled. The vendors will be notified in the morning. This call is over. I ended the conference. For 3 days. There was nothing. A blessed, heavy, beautiful silence. I imagined my brother's house was a war zone. I imagined my father was drinking a lot of antacids. I, on the other hand, was already looking at flight schedules. I had a new plan. Then, on the 4th day, my phone rang. An unknown number. I'm usually cautious. But I had a feeling. I answered. Mian. It was her. Jessica. But this wasn't the screaming, cornered animal from the phone call. This was a different voice. It was small. It was shaky. It was contrite. It was the best acting job of her life. Mian. Listen, she whispered, and I could hear a fake little crackle in her voice, like she was holding back tears. I'm so sorry. I overreacted. I've been under so much stress. Ryan and I. Can we just start over, please, for Dad? For the anniversary? I listened. I let her finish her entire performance. I let the fake apology hang in the air. A rotten, flimsy thing. She was testing the waters. She was checking if the video evidence was enough to make her truly surrender. Or if she just needed a new tactic. I gave her the answer. No. Jessica. I said. My voice wasn't angry. It wasn't cold. It was just finished. I do not accept your apology. And right on cue, she self-destructed. The mask didn't just slip, she tore it off. The fake, crying, whisper was gone, replaced instantly by a sharp, nasal, venomous hiss. Oh my God, she snapped. You really are that selfish. Aren't you fine? Fine. But if you're going to be that way, the least you can do, since you're saving all that money by not hosting, is you can pay for my cousin's food. I was confused. What are you talking about? Their food bill, she said. As if it was the most obvious thing in the world. They've had to eat out all week because of you. They had to go to a hotel. It's $800. You can at least pay the $800. And I started to laugh. It wasn't a chuckle. It was a real, deep, from the gut laugh. The kind of laugh that happens when the absurdity of a situation is so perfect, so utterly clarifying, that it just breaks you open. She was trying to invoice me for the consequences of her own failed manipulation. After trying to rob me, after scamming my father, after lying for years. Her final move was to demand $800 for her relative's room service. She was still talking. It's not funny. Mian, you owe them this. You. It was the most satisfying, liberating laugh of my entire adult life. And while I was still laughing, I pressed the end call button. I blocked her number. It was such a simple act. Just a few taps on a screen. But it felt like closing a 20-pound steel door. I went into my family group chat and muted notifications from Ryan. Indefinitely. I couldn't deal with the fallout. I didn't want to hear the justifications or the inevitable accusations that I had broken the family. I didn't break it. I just stopped holding the shattered pieces together. I canceled the caterer. I canceled the party rentals. I looked at the 50-person anniversary party I had planned. All the spreadsheets and the deposits. And I just deleted the folder. Then I opened a new browser window. I booked 4 plane tickets to a quiet, beautiful beach resort for the following weekend. A place with warm water and no cell service. I booked a table at the best restaurant in town. One that overlooked the ocean. Finally, I called my dad. He picked up on the first ring. His voice cautious. Mian. Hi. Dad. I said. And for the first time in weeks, my voice was light. The big, noisy, 50-person party is cancelled. I heard him sigh. A deep, long sigh. I understand. Honey, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Mian. Don't be. I said. But your 40th anniversary is not cancelled. Pack your bags. I'm taking you. Mom. And my kids away for the weekend. Just us. No drama. No spreadsheets. Just us. The final scene is this. Me. My mom. My dad. And my 2 kids. We're sitting at that restaurant. The sun is setting over the ocean. Painting the sky in colors I didn't even know existed. We're all dressed up. My dad is holding my mom's hand on the table. We all raised our glasses. To 40 years. I said. My dad. The man who lost $20,000. The man who had been stressed and sad for 5 years. He looked at me. His eyes were clear. He wasn't the trusting victim anymore. He was just my dad. He reached across the table and put his hand on mine. Thank you. Mian, he said. His voice thick with emotion. This is family. And in that moment, I finally understood something. We're all taught that family is this unbreakable bond. This thing you're born into. This debt you owe just for existing. We're told that blood is thicker than water. But that's a trap. It's a phrase used to justify abuse, to demand loyalty where none has been earned, and to silence the people who are hurting. Sometimes, the most profound act of love for your real family, the one you build, the one you protect, is to have the courage to cut off the toxic parts. Releasing those blood ties isn't an act of destruction. It's an act of preservation. By building a wall to keep the toxicity out, I wasn't breaking my family. I was finally, after all these years, saving it. What do you think of my final decision? Sometimes the hardest choice brings the greatest peace. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, please share it.